Hi, my name is Aaron Hurst. I am the author of The Purpose Economy, CEO of Imperative, and founder of the Taproot Foundation. And I'm thrilled to be with you today talking about the purpose economy and the role you can play in making a fundamental difference in the world, and in the process have a hell of a good time. So I'm going to walk through a series of different stories about how this new economy is emerging and the role you can play in this change. The story actually begins back in the 1970s. My uncle was a PhD candidate at Stanford University, where he was studying economics and coined the term. He was the first one to use the term information economy to describe a new economy that had emerged post-industrial economy. He had actually been able to prove that we had moved from an industrial economy into the economy we now associate with Silicon Valley. And as I talked to him and read through his work, what I came to realize was there's an incredible connection between evolution and biology and economics. That in fact, if you look at macroeconomics, they have a strong biological evolutionary footprint on them. Here's what I mean by that. We started off as apes, right? And over millions of years, we turned into erect apes, Homo sapiens. And one of the things that characterized us as a species was that we're impatient. We're incredibly impatient. And this whole evolution thing was taking too damn long. And we said, you know what, let's hack evolution and take things into our own hands. And we started with the first economic era, which was the agrarian economy, where we learned how to use land and animals to go from nomads to settle down. And it radically changed our quality of life and our lifespan. But that wasn't good enough. We said, you know what? I want to learn how to fly. I want to learn how to do things that were unimaginable, right? And we all know that, like, for example, learning to fly is something that biologically would have taken trillions of years for us to evolve to that point. But we were smarter than that. We found ways to build airplanes. We found ways to manipulate metal and to build industry that, again, expanded lifespan, increased quality of life. But that wasn't enough. We said, you know what? After, a few thousand years of that, or a few hundred years of that, we said, we want to change how we communicate. We want to be able to connect with people around the world. And we created the information economy. And again, we saw lifespan increase, quality of life radically improve. And the question became, as I was looking at my uncle's work, are we done? Is the iPhone the end of human evolution? Is it the end of economic evolution? And I don't think it is. I think there is a significant opportunity that's emerging now that we're seeing around the planet that has to do with the next iteration, the next evolution that'll help increase quality of life and lifespan. And that is purpose. Purpose fundamentally is the needed piece in society today that people are craving, especially the millennial generation, are craving because science shows that it increases our lifespan. People who live and work with purpose live longer. It's been shown study after study. But they also have a much higher quality of life. We've seen this in a work context. They have better relationships. They make a greater impact. They grow more. They're better leaders. And every single measure, people who live and work with purpose have a higher quality of life, are more productive members of society. It is the very logical next extension of our economy. It's a very logical next extension of our evolution as a species. When I started doing this work, though, I thought purpose meant one thing. But as I started to talk to researchers and do my own research, I came to realize that purpose actually was something very different than what I thought it was, that I'd been looking at it too narrowly. I want to start by just sharing one myth about purpose that has consistently held me up and held millions of people up from actually living and working with purpose. And that's the myth that purpose is about a cause. We tend to think you need a cause. You need to check off boxes on Facebook, attend galas. We need to have a cause that we care deeply about in order to feel a sense of purpose in our lives. But this is absolutely not the case. We all know people who have causes up the wazoo and absolutely no purpose in their lives. And conversely, we've all met people who are incredibly fulfilled, living with purpose, and yet if you asked what is their cause, you'd have no idea. There is no cause behind it. For too long, we've depended on a cause to be the means for which we derive purpose. Purpose and cause are not the same thing. The reality is we gain purpose from three things. We gain purpose from relationships. This is the biggest source of purpose. We gain purpose from having relationships with each other, from impact, when we do something for someone else. And it doesn't have to be something gargantuan or at a world scale. Just doing little things that provide us with a sense that we're doing something worthwhile makes a huge difference. And then growth. We gain a sense of purpose from growth. When we grow, when we push ourselves, we go beyond our fear. So we need to let go of the myths of purpose. which are fundamentally about purpose being about a cause, purpose requiring us to have a lot of money or that it's a luxury, or that somehow we're going to gain purpose as a revelation, that somehow we're going to be struck by lightning and we're going to gain purpose. This is not how purpose works. Purpose is about the daily practice of building relationships, making an impact, and growing. And this is the basis for the economy, both from a labor standpoint as well as from a consumer standpoint. If you want to create products that are going to thrive in this economy, you got to think about how are they going to differentiate on relationships, impact, and growth. Information economy products are more and more commoditized. This is the special sauce that is going to enable products to thrive, and it's also the key to building an organization with the very best people. We've actually studied with NYU and now with LinkedIn purpose-oriented people, people who come to work with purpose, right? They come for that reason to work. Yes, they need to get paid. Yes, they want to get acknowledged. But at the end of the day, they're there because they want to have relationships, they want to make an impact, and they want to grow. And what we found after employer after employer, and after we surveyed a national sample and then a global sample of workers, was that people who work with a primary orientation towards purpose outperform their colleagues on every single measure. There wasn't one thing we found that people who don't work for purpose achieved at a higher level than those who did. This is critical because it changes how we think about education. Are we preparing people for a workplace to think about work in the right place? It changes how we recruit. Are we hiring people who see work as being about purpose? And it changes how we manage. Are we leading, managing, and developing people based on these needs, not on old models that are around climbing a ladder and moving up the food chain? So how do you work with purpose? We've been lucky enough, with my experience working with the Taproot Foundation and tens of thousands of professionals, to really uncode what it is that makes one person have one purpose and someone else have a different purpose. And we need to become much more self-aware about this. We need to get to the point where universities offer a major in your purpose type, not just in a subject matter. We need to know who we are and what actually brings purpose to us. And there's 3 different elements that define purpose for one person. The first is, who do you most gain purpose from impacting? And there's basically 3 different levels. The first is, some people really gain purpose from impacting individuals. They need to feel that their work connects to someone specifically and they can see that impact. For others, it's at an organizational level. They say, you know what, it's great to help someone, but I want to help a whole organization thrive to help many more people. I want to work on the ecosystems and success of a team and organization. And a third, the highest elevation, is at a societal level. Some people gain purpose when they look at things and they say, you know what, individuals need help, organizations are important, but we need to address these issues at a macro level. These are part of bigger trends. I want to make an impact on a much greater scale. Think about a doctor or working at a hospital, right? They're helping those individual patients. They're gaining that kind of purpose. But a hospital administrator is helping a hospital get better. And a healthcare policy advocate is researching and helping change the nature of healthcare. These are all incredibly important roles. They're full of purpose, but unless you're aligned with that level of purpose, you're not going to get fulfillment. If you get your purpose from individuals and you're doing healthcare policy, you're going to feel a gap. So it's so critical to know at what level you are. The second is about your fundamental worldview, karma versus harmony. Karma is a fundamental belief that the world operates as a natural ecosystem, right? Markets work, nature works. That the goal of society is to get out of the way, set a high bar, challenge us all to do our best, but to let natural market forces work. Harmony is the flip side. It's a belief that if you let natural forces work, there'll always be people who are left behind. There'll always be people who are disenfranchised. And the role of society, organizations, and individuals is to help bring harmony to an otherwise painful, chaotic world. These are 2 polar differences of opinion that are seen in every culture around the world. And people exist on a continuum of whether or not you believe in karma or harmony. And it influences everything from how you decide to manage to how you approach problem solving based on that mindset. The final sort of driver of purpose for people is how you go about solving problems, how you go about creating change in the world. There's 4 different drivers or options under this driver. The first is human-centered. This is a fundamental belief that to solve problems, we need to be anchored in the actual human experience. We need to apply design thinking. We need to look at the context in which something's happening and really build that empathy and that ability to understand that context. The second is community. which is a fundamental belief that problems come and go. What's critical is to build stakeholder engagement, to gain the buy-in of the group of people who influence that issue, so that over time they can govern over that challenge, that you're building an engaged community around it. The third is structure, which is a fundamental belief that the best way to solve problems is to look for bright spots, to look for where things have worked, and create structures and systems and measurement to replicate success. And you're constantly looking for best practices, you're constantly looking for bright spots and thinking, how do I replicate those? How do I solve problems by replicating and building structure to create reliable results? Finally, you have knowledge, which is a belief that the key to social change is to uncover the truth, because only once you have the truth can you fundamentally solve a problem. And they look at these issues, whether it's education, healthcare, etc. The first stop is always, let's uncover truth before we act. So together these create different purpose types, combinations of these drivers that define who we are. And on imperative.com, you can go and take an assessment to determine for you, what is your purpose pattern? And based on that, create your career path based on what's going to be fulfilling for you. Don't try to figure out what's fulfilling for your friends, for your parents, for your coworkers. You need to think about, who am I at my core, and design your career around that. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur and build your own business, your own NGO, build it around fundamentally what matters to you, because that's what's going to get you up in the morning, that's going to make you incredibly successful, and it's going to help you make a difference in the world. I want to make this concrete in closing and sharing with you two of the organizations I've started and how they're an expression of my purpose. For me, I gain the most purpose from helping organizations. I see organizations as incredible, complex organisms that exist between individuals and society, and they're the thing that brings it all together. My fundamental mindset about the world is very karma-oriented. I believe in market forces. I believe in using competition and business to create change. I believe we can help the most people by focusing on market forces. And finally, I solve problems through community. I don't like to solve problems directly. I like to bring together the people who can own it and carry it forward. I love building stakeholder engagement. That's the process I use. So if you look at the two organizations I've most recently started, one was the Taproot Foundation, where we recruited tens of thousands of business professionals to do pro bono work, marketing, technology, HR, finance, etc., for NGOs, for nonprofits, because I saw that nonprofit organizations do some of the most important work in this world, and yet they don't have access to the marketing, tech, HR, etc., and saw an opportunity to engage these stakeholders, which are all these business professionals, in service to these organizations to make them better, and to do that in a highly competitive, market-driven way. So Taproot Foundation is a fundamental manifestation of my purpose drivers. And it has enabled us to scale to the point where there's over $15 billion a year in pro bono services in the US, as well as affiliates all around the world that are taking this model and helping nonprofits, NGOs, build their capacity to change the world. I left Taproot and started Imperative, which is my latest organization. It is a benefit corporation based here in Seattle, Washington. And our goal is to help organizations thrive in the new purpose economy, helping organizations recruit purpose-oriented people through a very competitive process to say, we need everyone to be purpose-oriented. We need to build market forces that brings a level of discrimination on purpose to the marketplace for recruiting. We're working with organizations to help them measure purpose within their organization and build leadership and stakeholder engagement inside the company around it. We're fundamentally, once again, looking at how do we help organizations use business and market forces to build a community that fundamentally brings more purpose to the economy, to organizations, to individuals. So you start to see how my purpose type has manifested in the organizations I've started. Just the way, once you discover your purpose type, you can better hone in on the change you want to make in the world. Because it's not about any one cause. It's about taking your purpose type and finding how you want that to manifest in the world. I hope you found this useful. I encourage you again to go to imperative.com and learn about your purpose type and start to chart a course and connect with people with the same purpose type and start to build a community of people who care about changing, whether it's individuals, organizations, or society, because we need it. Now is the moment, more than ever, that we need everyone to bring their purpose forward. It's a social imperative. It's a business imperative. We need to make it happen.